electing assembly delegates is the next thing on the next step of the process. So once you figured out that candidate A gets 3 delegates and candidate B gets 2 delegates or 7 delegates or whatever, you're going to break into your preference groups to select your delegates. So all of the Romanoff people are going to go into one group, all the Bennett people are going to go to another group, all the uncommitted people are going to go to the third group, and they're going to get together and decide who their delegates are going to be. So if your group ends up with 3 delegates, you need to get together with your group of people and figure out who those 3 people are going to be. Because 3 delegates doesn't mean anything if you don't actually elect people to be those delegates. The preferences that of the people who you elect are non-binding. In other words, if you elect someone as a Romanoff delegate to the county assembly, they can show up at the county assembly and vote for Bennett. There's nothing binding about that preference. Now, they're going to take a lot of heck from people who helped elect them, but they're representative of that group. But the reality is they can vote their conscience at any level of this process. And then finally, I want to encourage you to fill every single delegate spot. For every delegate, you have an alternate, unless your county has some weird rule, but I don't know of any that do. So if you have 3 delegates to the county assembly, you should also have 3 alternates to the county assembly. So make sure you fill every delegate and every alternate spot. Now, unless your county party has rules differently, you can elect people to be delegates who did not show up to caucus night. Some of the metro counties in particular do have rules that say you have to be present to win. You have to be there to be a delegate. But the default state party rule is that there is no rule. County parties are welcome to override that with their own rule, but absent doing that, you can elect whoever you want to be a delegate. From Fremont County, where I live, we have, up until at least 06 and probably 08, we had such poorly attended precinct caucuses that in my precinct, I would just go down the voter list and find people I knew to make sure that we had all of our precinct delegate positions filled. We just did that. You may want to actually call them that night and ask them if they want to be a delegate. Or you may even have a list of people who have told you beforehand, hey, I'm going to be out of town on caucus night, I can't get out of it, but if there's any way I can be a delegate to the county assembly, I really want to be a delegate to the county assembly. And if that's the case and you've got extra spots, feel free to use that person to fill that spot, again, unless your county has a rule that says you can't.
Dan,
Yes?
how do we know if the county has a rule of that? Who?
Ask your county.
I mean, who? Okay, so what?
County party would know.
So you
I
call
think
it
Denver
sheriff's?
does have a rule that says you have to be there. I don't know about any other county specifically.
Okay, which county? I'm sorry.
Denver.
Oh, okay. Down in
Denver
Dallas.
does have that rule,
All right.
unless they've changed.
Okay.
So that's it. You've elected delegates. That's the big, what all the attention is about on caucus night. From that point on, you may actually see people start to leave. Please don't leave, because there's still some things you need to do. And I would hope that people who show up to caucus stay involved beyond just caucus night, beyond just the assemblies. And the next thing on the agenda is to elect precinct committee persons. Regardless of how big the precinct is or how democratic the precinct is, every precinct in Colorado can elect 2 individuals to serve on the county central committee. These people you elect serve a 2-year term on that central committee. In other words, they will serve as your precinct committee person until the next caucus and assembly process begins. The roles of a precinct committee person in some ways seem kind of self-evident. Your job is to organize that precinct for the Democratic Party, organize that precinct for our candidates, make sure we get out the vote within that precinct. You're the spokesperson. You're the eyes and ears and mouth of the Democratic Party in your precinct if you're a precinct committee person. And I have here that you should be comfortable with these requirements. If there are nobody that wants to do these things, nobody that wants to be a precinct committee person, and you really don't feel totally comfortable with that, I would encourage you to volunteer and do that. But if there are 4 or 5 people that raise their hand and say, I want to do this, and you don't feel like you have the time, don't volunteer for it. If there's other people that are willing to do this and willing to spend their time being a precinct committee person, and you're not sure that you can, let the other person do it. I don't know, some counties don't use buck bags anymore. I don't think the state party has them anymore, but some counties do pass out contribution envelopes or encourage people to donate. So that's the next thing on the agenda. Election judge sign up is the next thing on the agenda. You can sign up to be an election judge. It's a paid thing. You have to go through training at the county, either the county election board or in Denver, or the county clerk's office in other counties. But and this is really touchy because I don't want to encourage everybody to be an election judge, but on the other hand, I want people who are Democrats there working at the polls on election day. But I also want people working to get people out to vote on election day. So if it's something you want to do, I encourage you to sign up and do it. The next thing on the agenda is resolutions. It's the last thing on the agenda. If you have something you feel strongly about, put it in a resolution. It's got to be in writing, and the group votes on it. If you think it's important to stem the transfer of toxic waste to Colorado, write a resolution about it. If you think it's important that we pass health care with a public option, write a resolution about it. It can be on a scrap of paper, but it's got to be in writing. And then from that point, the secretary submits that if it passes to the county party, and it becomes part of the county platform process, which then, in theory, becomes part of the state platform process, depending on how the platform committee runs itself.